Good morning, everyone. Well, before starting, let's remember that in case of any potential threat to our safety, we must evacuate to the safe zone, which is in the yard immediately in front of the chapel. Well, we welcome you all, those who are personally here and those who are following this debate online, especially to our debaters, okay, who prepare their stances and arguments thoughtfully, to the judges who have committed to assess this wonderful learning experience, and to the audience who came to listen to and learn about the challenges and the priorities that humanity is facing nowadays. Christian principles rule everything we do. They have inspired this generation of students since the very first day they came to our school. It's an honor, then, to frame this discussion inside our chapel, not to get lost in the form and the source of our arguments. The subject, participation and argumentation in democracy, demands from students the use of critical thinking and teamwork, among many other abilities. Every topic and the discussion needs to be fully researched. Today, the matter under analysis is whether or not we should invest in technology to colonize other planets. What do you think? If you don't have a clear opinion, maybe this debate will help you clarify a little bit your point of view. Let's introduce our debaters. The team that agrees, says yes, okay, with the possibility of investing in technology to colonize other planets, is going to start giving their arguments first. They are the students Tomás Mora, Benjamín Benavides, Matilde Arriola, Olga Aliaga, and Mariana Zamora. The team who disagrees with the claim is formed by the students Sofía Medina, Javiera Oyarzún, Consuelo Zavala, Isabela Hein, and Gabriela Avendaño. Well, a very important part of all this are the judges, and they are the teacher of philosophy, Mrs. Monica Ramirez, the teacher of history, Ms. Mariana Hernandez, welcome, Ms., and the great teacher of English, Ms. Yvette Magaña. Okay. The methodology includes the presentation of the arguments first, taking turns between the two teams, okay? And there will be also some moments of crossfires, questions and answers, immediate, okay? I ask the audience to keep silent while the debaters present their arguments or do their crossfires. Let's start by the team who agrees with the claim that we should invest in technology to colonize other planets. They have 4.5 minutes to speak. Tomás, your turn.
Space colonization is an event where humanity uses the technology to go to space to try to colonize different planets inside or outside of our solar system. This could help humanity in many ways. It would help significantly on different scientific researches that couldn't be done with a temporary residence. NASA takes up 0.3% of all the United States budget, that is approximately $22 billion. And a possible space colonization would be expensive. It will be nothing compared to the budget of different superpowers. How much time left humanity has before climate change destroys the entire ecosystem of the planet, what are we going to do next? Space colonization is necessary for searching for a new home for humanity. If humanity doesn't want to go to extinct, we need to start investing in space colonization now, or else the future of humanity will not exist. This is because global warming will cause an extinction of the third of the Earth's animals, plants, and species in 2050, and could increase to 70% of all the species in the Earth by the end of the century. This means a catastrophic loss of the biodiversity, a severe disruptions to the ecosystem, which could cause a hardship for human life. The consequences of this are higher temperatures. They can increase mortality, reduce productivity, and damage the infrastructure. The most affected ones would be the elderly and infants. Also, these affect the different species of animals, for example, the ones which are in the Antarctic, in a part of the world where the impacts of the rising temperatures have been more intense than other parts. All the animals that live there depend on that ice to hunt, reproduce, and rest. Drought. Usually, the drought knock-on effects in agriculture, forestry, water, and biodiversity. They reduce water levels in the river and groundwater, which increase the fuel wildfires. Ability of fresh water. Drought and the rise of freshwater temperatures cause a decrease of water quality. This is because the growth of toxic algae and bacteria. Sea level rise. This rise is produced by the thermal expansion of the oceans due to global warming. This is also helped by the melting of the ice glaciers in Antarctica. This rise of levels of the sea affects the infrastructure, business, and the people living in coastal areas. So our planet won't last forever, and it is dying slowly. It is necessary to have a plan B in case something happens to the Earth, especially now that toxic gases, contamination, and global warming are killing it. It's a need to have another possible home. The conditions of habitable planets are comfortable distance away from the star, like the Earth from the Sun, where they can maintain liquid water on the surface. An atmosphere that can protect the organisms from dangerous radiation and particles. A higher UV radiative environment is bad for the surface water. This can produce cancer for the organisms. Holding an atmosphere that can provide oxygen and trap carbon dioxide and other gases to keep warm on the planet. If we could settle down on another planet, the quality of the life there could be different because our bodies are accustomed to the Earth characteristics, such as the gravity, the temperature, etc.
30 seconds.
So if we want to move to another planet, the condition of the planet can be a threat for us for the different characteristics. But the people living there could be adapted to those new conditions. This is due to human biology. Those individuals who inherit a trait for those ones could be an advantage to respond to the stress, are more likely to survive longer. This is by the evolution through natural selection.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to listen to the claim and grounds of Sofía Medina. Okay, to the opposite team.
Hello, everybody. Well, we think that humans shouldn't invest in technology to colonize other planets. Now, we can't talk about space colonization without knowing the basics. Firstly, what does colonization mean? The Cambridge Dictionary defines colonization as to send people to live in and govern other countries. In this case, the one colonized will be space. We also need to define what invest means. This dictionary also defines invest as to put money, effort, time, etc. into something to get a profit or to get an advantage. Investing is a really wide concept, and it's difficult to prioritize in doing so. How can we be investing in colonizing other planets and even the entire space if we can't invest in the people that need it the most here on Earth? Every day, our planet gets poorer and poorer. Just like worldbank.org said, quote, although global poverty recently resumed its pre-pandemic downward trajectory, between 75 million and 95 million additional people could be living in extreme poverty in 2022 compared to pre-COVID-19 projections. There are a lot of risks regarding this topic, and it's indeed very important to talk about it. Sometimes we don't realize how the decisions that the most wealthy people make can affect us. So, opening a discussion about it is essential to understand more about what's happening in our society. NASA's Human Research Program organized some of the risks humans face in space, some of which can put our lives in danger. We can mention the most important health risks, such as losing muscle and strength, as well as sleep loss and the shrinking of the heart. We can also mention the unbearable temperatures, space isolation, and how all of these affect our body. The anti-gravity muscles of the thighs and calves degenerate significantly after they are made redundant during spaceflight. Despite the best efforts to grant replacement exercise to crew members on the International Space Station, after 6 months, they had still lost 13% of their calf muscle volume and 32% of the most power that the leg muscles could deliver. Then, there are the risks presented just by being a long way from Earth. The farther humans get from our planet, the risky living out there in space becomes in almost every way. Space is inhospitable to humans, and life in space, if even possible, would be miserable for all the reasons I have already mentioned. If there is a space expedition in the future, communication delays would increase, and there will likely be communication blackouts, said Sharmi Watkins, Assistant Director for Exploration in NASA's Human Health and Performance Directorate. She said it would also take longer to induce back to Earth if there was a medical emergency. Knowing this, we still want to send people to space, being conscious of how this impacts the health of the human body. We as a society are already running out of resources, and sending anything to space is extremely expensive and time-consuming. Improving our technology to colonize space would cost millions. What is left for the people on Earth that need those resources? Are we just going to neglect them and use that important money in a mission that could possibly go wrong? If we have the wish to travel to space and even colonize it, we need to understand more about what happens to people in space. Astronauts are not machines, they are people. And obviously, being away from home affects them. A team of researchers led by psychologist Candice Alfano investigating the Antarctic, considered a perfect analog for space due to the extreme environment. They explained that, in addition to small crews and limited communication during Antarctic winter months, the environment offers little sensory stimulation and extended periods of darkness. Evacuation is difficult, if not impossible. They monitored the psychological health and development of personal living during the 9 months study period. Consequently, the results showed that the participants' positive adaptations decreased over the course of their trip, while poor self-regulation's emotions increased, that being due to extreme isolation. Since the beginning of our existence, we have been surrounded by people. We have always lived in communities, and we need to be communicative and sociable. If we go to space, loneliness will be too powerful, and it will damage our mental health. Furthermore, the risk of the first colonists dying is very high, and the risk in general is very high too. Is taking that risk really worth it? Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Okay, then we have another argument coming from the voice of Benjamin Benavides. Okay, we invite you to give your argument then to add support, warrants, or backing to this conflict. Okay.
As Tomás Mora said, our planet is not going to last forever due to all the contamination that there is in our planet. So it is fundamental to find a place where our humanity can keep growing, and we need to find a solution. And that solution might be finding another planet or dying on a painful and slow way. Maybe you will think that investing to colonize is pure science fiction, but we could make a lunar base right now if we wanted to. The first step to space colonization. To make a lunar base, it will cost approximately $35 billion to make and send a lunar base, with a cost of $7.5 billion per year. These $7.5 billion cover the food and water that needs to be sent to the lunar base, the manufacture of the spaceship, and the fuel required to send to space that spaceship. This might seem like a lot of money, especially for us, that we aren't superpowers nor extremely rich people. But this is not a lot for superpowers like China, Russia, or the United States of America. The USA spent $801 billion only in 2021 on their military budget. This amount of money will allow the USA to send and install a lunar base and maintain it for 100 years. The USA is not the only superpower that could afford to send and maintain a lunar base. Many superpowers spend billions of dollars per year on their military bases. For example, China spent $293 billion in 2021. Russia spent $65.9 billion only on 2021 on their military budget. Colonizing the moon is the first step to colonize other planets, and it could be a great opportunity for humanity to invent new technologies and to exploit different and new resources. Space colonization is not mere science fiction, and if governments started to spend money on it, we will be able to explore the wonders of space. But could humanity survive on a celestial body without oxygen? The answer is yes. Humans could survive in these extreme conditions. It will be very dangerous and difficult to adapt humans to survive in different environments due to the extreme environments that those celestial bodies have. However, with enough support from the Earth, like delivery of essential resources, humans could survive on them. There are humans that already live in places where it's impossible to get food, water, and have extreme weather conditions. I'm talking about the South Pole bases. Lunar bases could have a similar scheme to those bases in the South Pole. Maybe you will think that colonizing other planets is not morally correct for humans, because it would supposedly destroy their ecosystem or environments. However, no space company from any country in the world has any plans to invade a planet which has life on it. In fact, non-planet discovery for humanity has life in it, intelligent or not. The only planets or celestial bodies planned to be colonized by humanity are the Earth's moon, Mars, and Proxima Centauri b, and they don't offer the conditions to naturally contain life on them. Humans exploring, living, and colonizing other planets, it's not mere science fiction. It's a reality that could be started today. But what also is not mere science fiction is global warming and its devastating effects on Earth. According to scientists on nature.org, we must globally achieve net zero carbon emissions no later than 2050 in order to stop global warming. If we don't achieve this, it will lead to the extinction of millions of different species on Earth, including humans. If humanity doesn't manage to stop global warming, we must have a plan B to save the human race from a slow and painful death on Earth. So that's why our group thinks that it's important to invest on space technology to colonize different planets, not only for scientific purpose, exploration, or economic purposes, but for the naval act to save humanity as a whole.
Thank you. Well, this is the moment of the first crossfire, okay? So we are going to debate here some ideas. The first one, to start with this, is Benjamin Benavides, okay? Can you please state your rebuttal?
With the money that already is on Earth, without any investing on space colonization, could superpowers get all the people from poverty, from extreme poverty, and bring them more equal lives?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Sorry. With the money that is already on Earth, without any investing on space colonization, could that help people on developing countries under extreme poverty to get out of their economic position?
I think that all the money that the powerful countries have can always be invested in helping people. Poverty in our planet, it's like the biggest problem that we have to solve. And I think that it isn't right to go out in space without solving that really important matter. We can't ignore it forever. And that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you going to say something back?
Yes. The amount of money planned in total of maintaining and send is $42.5 billion, but the USA already has, wait a second, $801 billion spent on military resources. Even if we spend today on that, there will be a lot of money left to help other people.
Okay. An answer? Something? Sophie?
We as a team still think that the money can be like distributed in a better way, and not think like, oh, this money can go only to space colonization or only to helping people. I think that better than investing in machines, we can be investing in the living people that are like near us, like by my side and by your side. People are more important than machines and colonization and
Thank you.
expedition.
You make a point. Okay, we continue with arguments. Okay, so we are going to invite here Javiera.
Well, good evening, everyone. We strongly believe that only countries with big economic sources will have the power and hence the opportunity to colonize other planets. To perform the action or investing, we have to take in big enough to accomplish our goal. In our case, that intelligent goal will be to colonize other planets. Now, to accomplish an objective as ambitious as that, we will have to invest in a lot of areas. How much will be necessary to spend to accomplish that goal? It will be necessary to spend millions or even billions of dollars to obtain really worthy results. Let's just analyze how much are countries currently investing in space programs and technologies. The current greatest spender and leader in the world in the theme of space technology and program is the United States. The country comes with a major space program organization named NASA. Having such a spectacular organization demands large and regular investing. According to the Planetary Society, which is the world's largest and most influential non-profit space organization, NASA budget in a fiscal year represents 0.48% of all US government spending. That's greater than 20 billions. China occupies the second place, having as the main operation for the National Space Program, the China's National Space Administration. This organization budget in fiscal year is of $8.9 billion. Russia is in third place, being Roscosmos and the Russian Space Force, the country's major space project operation, that have an annual budget of $1.5 billion. Now, the top countries in the so-called space race spend billions of dollars every year to accomplish real development in their space organization. That led us to question, are all the countries in the world able to finance such expensive programs? The clear answer is not. Not all the countries have such a large amount of money. Now, how are the top countries able to do that? Well, the United States, as the country in the top position in the space race, invests billions of dollars every year. How? Well, the answer is simple. The United States has a great amount of economic resources, and in fact, presents the largest economy in the world as measured by nominal GDP, gross domestic product. To make it clear, the GDP is used to provide a snapshot of a country's monetary market value. In simple words, the greater the GDP of a country is, the better is the economic situation of that country. China as well has a great economic situation. In fact, it has the world's second largest nominal GDP in current dollars. At last, Russia also counts with a great number of economic resources. In a point of fact, it's situated among the top 20 largest economies in the world by nominal GDP. Have you ever heard someone talking about African countries' space programs? Probably not. In fact, before this research, we had never heard anything about them. That's the reason why we are including here information about Nigeria's space programs. Nigeria's economic overall scored below the world average. The country has a main operation program called the National Space Research and Development Agency. Thanks to this institution, Nigeria has a communication satellite and air observation satellite in operation. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, the space program is considered to be less necessary than many other governmental initiatives. For the previous reason, Nigeria doesn't currently have any launch system development and relies on China's and Russia's rocket to launch its satellites into orbit. It's clear that countries with less economic resources can invest in all the things that countries with biggest economies invest in. They have to choose and not invest in not so necessary things. They have to choose what the priority is. And clearly, it's not the space programs whose objective is the future.
30 seconds.
These countries' priority is the present, the now. Thanks for your attention.
Sit down. Well, as you have been listening to, there are many sides of one conflict. Javiera, it's your turn to crossfire Tomás Mora.
Well, Tomás, you say that you want to have a plan B to have a new history. So can you really say that we are not going to repeat history, like we are not going to rent a new planet like we rent Earth?
Can you repeat? Sorry, but can you repeat the question, please?
I'm asking. You say you have to colonize other planets to have a plan B, a new star. So, how can you say to me that we are not going to rent a new planet, that we are not to repeat the history like we rent Earth?
Thomas, your answer?
No.
Anyone of the team that can help?
We don't think we will repeat the same, and we think that if we ever need to escape from Earth to colonize our planet, I think that humanity will learn from their mistakes.
Can you repeat that?
Sorry. We think that we don't think we will repeat the same mistakes. And we will think that we learn from our mistakes on the new planet where we might colonize.
Well, in our history, we have a lot of wars. Humanity had never learned to not make more wars. So can you really say that we are not going to repeat history?
Sorry. Hello.
Hello, Mariana.
First of all, we cannot say either yes or no because investing is making a leap of faith. Investing is thinking of please it goes well. And in history, it has been like that always. We cannot tell you it will be perfect, and you cannot tell us that it will be horrible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you're going to continue then with some more arguments, further arguments that support the claim. Matilde Arriola, please, it's your turn to share with us your thoughts.
Hi, my name is Matilde Arriola. Why are dinosaurs not here anymore? Because they didn't have a space program. That's exactly what the theoretical physicist, futurist, and science communicator Michio Kaku said years ago in an interview with CBS. Thanks to my partners, Thomas and Benjamin, we already know that Mars and the Moon are one of the best options to use as stepping stones on the way to become a spacefaring civilization. Nobody's saying that it's going to be easy, but we are humans and we like to do hard things. And continuing what Michio Kaku said about going to other planets, specifically the red one, going to Mars is not a picnic. And once you are there, the goal is to create a self-sustainable colony that's not going to be a drain on the planet Earth. For NASA, the price for a mission to Mars is $80 billion to $100 billion. But we see too that in other countries, this money is used in other forms unnecessarily. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist and the guy who presents the TV show Cosmos, has commented in an interview 8 years ago that he does not believe that humans may never get to colonize Mars. Not because we're unable to produce the technology to do it, but because he has serious doubts about the real motivation of the corporation like SpaceX and Blue Origins, since, as any corporations, they will want to have a return for their investment. And so far, there is no proof that they will find gold or oil or other valuable resources in a planet like Mars. So planetary exploration has to be something that involves governments and countries for it to be worked out. Elon Musk, another person in this discussion and the founder of SpaceX, is a man whose dream is to go to Mars, and is investing a lot of his own money to accomplish that dream. So far, those dreams are becoming a reality thanks to the alliance between NASA and SpaceX. A government agency and a business working together is a big step for what Neil said. NASA has the experience and SpaceX has the resources. They both need each other to accomplish in an easier way what the many goals that are proposed. Now, the controversial part. We have a billionaire pushing SpaceX and another one pushing his fleet of rockets, Jeff Bezos, who is the Amazon billionaire owner, and they are creating commercial touristic travels going to space and pushing the mining of the asteroid belt. They want to pay for the exploration of outer space by mining platinum and rare earth elements in an asteroid to make money and create a new gold rush? A very controversial example is the Blue Origin. Jeff Bezos' space project has been, at least at the beginning, a commercial-oriented company taking tourists who paid high amounts of money out of the Earth's atmosphere, which seems very selfish, when the truth is that having several companies building new engines, testing alternative fuel, and reusable rockets is helping the scientist community learn more about the latest technology that may one day take a group of adventurers to colonize a new planet. Stephen Hawking, the theoretical physicist and cosmologist, said the following during a talk at Oxford University Union Debating Society. With climate change, increasingly overdue asteroid strikes, epidemics, and population growth, our planet is increasingly precarious. Our only chance of long-term survival is not to remain inward-looking on planet Earth. We should have spread out into space and other stars, so a disaster on Earth would not mean the end of the human race. Stephen Hawking said that, one of the best astrophysicists in the world and the man who consolidated the Big Bang theory. Well, the planet Earth at this time has faced 5 massive extinctions in early history. We know this information thanks to Jack Sepolsky and Deb Enrapu, who in 1982 told the world their investigations. Over the years, their investigations have been affirmed and studied further. Using all the information gathered by paleontologists, now can confirm that at least 99.9% of all species and plants were extinct from the face of our planet. Biologists from the University of Hawaii published in the journal Biological Reviews that disease mass extinction is underway.
Okay, thank you very much, Matilde, for your position.
Thank you.
Now, okay, it comes the turn of Consuelo to give her opinion.
Hi. We agree about the current concerns about life on Earth, but to escape is neither the way nor the solution. We can use all the current and future technologies to make improvements on our own planet rather than going outside to look for other planets to invade or colonize, because that could be interpreted as we are just giving up on our responsibility to take care of it. We don't mean that we shouldn't explore space or that we shouldn't send astronauts to it. We mean that we should assume that everyone in future generations are going to live right here, and it is unfair that we go to another solution that could take many years to prove when our planet is dying today. Currently, the climate clock is a way to raise awareness and a countdown to how long it is until climate change is irreversible. Today, in 2022, we have 7 years and 28 days left. In terms of contamination, more than 90% of the world population breathes polluted air. 2.2 billion people lack access to safely managed drinking water, according to the UNICEF. So, what will we do in a place that lacks water? In terms of poverty, 85% of the world's population can also be considered poor, according to the researcher and founder of Our World in Data, Max Roser. So how could we go? How could 85% of the population go anywhere else when they don't have a decent life here? The idea of colonizing another planet likely appeals to a small fraction of the humankind and suggests an inevitably elitist enterprise. Space travel is remarkably expensive. We have more than 7 billion people in the world, people that live on a few dollars a day or less. The most fortunate people are not providing for their basic needs, so it seems unlikely that we are going to pay for their space travel. Even enthusiasts like Professor Hawking imagine that only a couple of thousand people could go anywhere else. A couple of thousand people is hardly 1 in a million people. So what will happen with the thousands of million people that will be left behind? We should stay and use this billionaire investment on our planet and improve it. We should focus on the big problems that we have as a humanity here, because it is just simply utopic to think that this could work, or at least that it could work for everyone. You may think that this idea could be our only hope, that we need to leave the Earth, but they are the same ones that are killing our planet. According to various sources in the sector, the plan of SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, to launch a chip every 2 weeks entails the emission of 4,900 millions of carbon per year. They create significant warming and compositional changes in the atmosphere. These industries try to make global warming our fault, but if we analyze the numbers, it is really out of our hands. Going to another planet means losing all of our culture and history. It is a restart button to escape from the real problem. We also have to ask ourselves, what will happen with the concept of life as we know it so far? Is it worth leaving everything? As my mate established previously, as humans, this also could affect us psychologically. How could we just move on and forget the multiple landscapes that the Earth has? Are we willing to leave our families, our lives, and everything we know behind to be involved in sort of an experiment that we don't really know if it will work? We still don't know how to make self-sustaining ecosystems out of a planet that has nothing. Even taking off our clothes could be a life-threatening catastrophe. All of this beside the many political, economic, and social consequences of this project. Another potential consequence of the harshness of outer space is that to successfully invade or colonize another planet, we must adapt ourselves to become cyborgs. There is a certain appeal and perhaps a biological necessity to adapting our bodies with technology so that we can survive in the extremes of outer space. The distances between planets are huge, making any back and forth trading between a colony and Earth difficult, costly, and very thus unlikely. If humans have the technology to take a rogue planet and make it home, why don't we use that technology to improve what we already have? Thank you.
Thank you, Consuelo. Well, it comes the moment to make a second crossfire here. Okay. I invite Matilde.
Hi, Javi. Okay, Javi. Countries spend way more money on their military budget than space programs. Do you know that?
Again, please?
Okay.
Can you say
What?
that again, please, louder?
Countries spend way more money on their military budget than space programs. Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay, and what is your answer?
Well, that's not really a question, because there are facts that, yes, they invest more in that, but it's really worthy to invest billions of dollars in space programs when it's obviously that there's a difference between countries in that theme?
How much money does the USA spend on NASA every
What?
year? Could you say the data of the USA of how much money they spend on their space program?
Well, they spend 20,
They spent 2,900 billions of dollars.
Could you repeat it, please? I didn't hear it really well.
$22,729 billion.
$Billion?
$1 billion, billions.
Okay, the USA spent $801 billion only on their military budget.
Well, that's the point. They spend more than $20 billion in space programs when there are other countries who can barely spend in other things that don't have enough money to invest in both.
Yes, but they spend more money on their military budget compared to the money on the space program.
Of course, because that's the present. They have to the countries with more economical resource can spend in both. Obviously, the present is always the priority, but they have the opportunity to think about the future. Not all the countries can think about the future. That's the point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, here we are with a moment of a break. We are going to take 5 minutes for the teams to organize the information and to go on with the rebuttals or the refutations of the team, okay? So we're going to be then separated just 5 minutes, and we're going to comment here something about this. Thank you. 5 minutes. Okay, it's time to sit down and continue with this. Now we come to the rebuttals and closing of the debate. And in that sense, in this time, the opposite team will start. Then I invite Isabella Hain to give her position. Thank you, Isabella.
Yeah. First of all, it would be interesting to ask your team, how are we as a society going to prioritize between who goes out to space and who doesn't? Since it is very important to have in mind what you said about how we're dealing with an overpopulation that is constantly augmenting, meaning that in the near future, there won't be enough sources for humans to survive, leaving us, apparently, one option: the colonization of other countries for humanity's survival. Nonetheless, with this statement, wouldn't you be admitting that if you make this decision, there's a large part of humanity that will probably die? If we compare the pace of the extraction with advancing technological devices told by our partner Sofia and Consuelo, and the current world population of 7.96 billion people, according to the most recent United Nations of the estimates elaborated by Worldometer, and the fact that only countries with a high capital income will be able to exile their entire population, told by our partner Javiera, we can conclude that we won't be able to make a whole expedition out of our planet due to the lack of resources and the scanty time we have, forcing us to make an unjust decision because, as we all know, all humans have equal rights. Secondly, is there going to be a limit of colonization, or we will need to invade the entire galaxy to feel finally satisfied? The neuroscientist Jan Panksepp notes in his book Affective Neuroscience that of the 7 core instincts in the human brain, seeking is the most important one. Alexis de Tocqueville, a French sociologist and political theorist, even said, by his observations in 1831, I have seen the freest and best educated of men in the happiest circumstances the world can afford. Yet, it seems that a cloud hung on their brow and they appear serious and almost sad, because they have never stopped thinking of the good things they have not yet got. Lastly, Evan Thompson, a philosophy professor at the University of British Columbia, added, I don't think any good scientist thinks one day science will come to an end. Science is about questioning new ways of looking at things, new devices, and that the innate human desire to seek means that we can never truly feel that every desire and wish has been met. This means that as humans, we won't stop seeking and coveting, since neurologically we are made to always want more. So finally, if we think about the future, it is more likely that the wealthiest ones will be safe. And if we remember our past, we will see that once again, the poor will perish. There are a lot of examples in our history that can assure this. Only two will be mentioned. The colonization of America, described by a lot of historians as the microcosm of the Spanish government, or as one of the crudest, dreadful times in our history, an uncontrollable seek of richness and loss of power. And the Ukraine invasion. Vladimir Putin didn't even mind breaking the Minsk agreement, which was signed to secure a ceasefire between the Ukraine government and Russia. All that we have seen, whether in news or documentaries, show that nothing is undeniable and that individual interest prevails over everything, especially when we talk about human behavior. Amazingly, from what my team partners have said, Russia will be one of the most capable countries to go to outer space. But sincerely, morally talking, what for? To show us their giant power, which conversely is made at the expense of the weakest ones? And if we think critically, it is not exactly this type of movement during our past and present which reflect us how we're more likely to be in our future? From the point of view of Karen Comfrey, an associated neuroscience professor of the University of Ontario, it's our ADN which stimulates us to make the same mistakes over and over again
30 seconds.
by creating a good or bad pathways. If we create a bad pathway, it is feasible that we keep doing this bad action since we slip by default back into existing neural habits. In the case of our society, it is very viable that in outer space, humans will tend to move forward to their own interests beyond the interests of the community, something seen all along our history with the two examples mentioned before. They have the capital, but are they going to help the others who don't? Who doesn't? Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you, Isabella. Well, it's time to listen to Olga, given the rebuttals and more arguments to be defeated.
Hi. First of all, one question is, how will humanity benefit from space colonization? Well, there are a lot of benefits we have had by exploring space. For example, improving our healthcare by promoting medical assistance. Also, it has helped us in protecting our planet in a way that satellites help us to see how our environment is. And that's only by exploring space. Now, think about the benefits that we will have by colonizing another planet. According to the Canadian government on their page, Everyday Benefits of Space Exploration, the benefits of conquering another planet would be the technology improvement that we will have. There are multiple new scenarios with new type of particles, climates, etc. And all of that will help. Not only with the technology, but also with the industrial capabilities. To evolve, the economy will advance with all these new technologies. Other point is every rocket launcher contaminates the environment way more than any other transportation system. That's not completely true. Thanks to the investigation of everyday astronaut, we can compare the CO2 emissions of all rockets launched in 2018. The airline industry totaled 918 million tons of CO2. Meanwhile, the spaceflight industry got only 22,780 tons. In order to get to the same level of emission as airplanes, the airspace industry would have to fly 40,300 times more rockets per year. Means that 4,594,200 rocket launchers a year. Moreover, emissions from the airline industry were only 2.44% of global CO2. Meaning that the global CO2 output of rocket was only 0.0000059% of all CO2 emissions. Other point is we shouldn't invest in space travel. Instead, we should invest in health and education. It will take an enormous amount of money, yes. However, investing in learner base, for example, is a long-term invest that will be helpful in the future for humanity. CSIS space initiatives have made an estimate that the likely cost of developing such a base would be around 35 billion and operating the base would around about 7.35 billion per year. But there's no price for human life. If the air is in danger, we shouldn't have a budget for the construction of a base to save humans. Space travel opens the possibilities of new things to learn and to discover. Actually, many technological discoveries has been made thanks to NASA that most people have no idea about. When making new technologies for space travel, NASA found technologies for Earth life. If we invest in space travel, advancement for many more unthinkable areas may be found or created by chance. The same happened with education. Nowadays, the population of planet Earth is constantly connected through technology. Most children are already familiarized with all the type of electronic devices. Using technological education to teach young people have many benefits, such as helping the learners to stay updated with new discoveries. And as the USA should stop invest in NASA space program, as you implied, then should they stop making all the satellites that help the planet? Thanks you.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you very much. This is the moment when we have our third crossfire, and we're going to listen to Isabella Hain, okay, in a discussion with Matilde. Okay?
Matilde, you mentioned Stephen Hawking. That's right?
Yeah.
But do you know that even him didn't know all the secrets of the world, like humans' intentions? Something reflected in the behavior of Elon Musk, investing a lot of money on space travels. But the question is, he's looking for a solution for himself or for the world? Because, as you said, his behavior seemed very selfish.
Yeah, well, I say that it's very selfish, but I also remark that all the rockets made by SpaceX and Jeff Bezos that problem can be seen in other point of view, like these companies building a new engine, testing alternative fuel and reusable rockets is finally helping the scientist community to learn more about the technology. That's the real answer, because, yeah, that man and the company is very selfish, but at the end of the day, they are helping.
Yes, but I repeat the question. Is he helping for making a solution for him to survive, to go to another space, to outer space, or for he's looking for a solution for all of us?
As Matilde said, he made some new discoveries of new reuse. ¿Cómo se dice? Sorry. New engines with alternative fuel and reusable fuel. If he didn't care about the rest of the world, he won't do or investigate or invest money on searching on more environmental friendly ways of space program. If he didn't care about the rest of the world, he will just that is available now and go to space alone. So that's
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella.
Well, Benjamin, it's your turn to talk to Consuelo. Okay.
So you said that we are not sure which people are going to go to space. Well, every country should be prepared to save their citizens personally, right? So isn't that a point for us that should encourage the countries to spend more money on that to save their population?
Well, not all the countries have the opportunity to invest in space travel. Sometimes their only priority is to get education and health. So I don't think that every country is capable of doing so, to prepare their people to space travel, because it's not the priority.
In a future where maybe those countries have better economical conditions, should they spend on money to also save their citizens?
I don't think so. Like, we don't have a good life here. Not everyone have the opportunities that you are looking for. So I don't think that is fair to look for this answer to save the world, because you are not saving the world, you are saving the few ones that have money.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're going to listen to the final closing ideas of this debate. I invite Gabriela Bendaño to summarize and close about the claim.
Hi, my name is Gabriela Bendaño, and as my co-partner said, previously, the premise of going to and moreover colonizing other planets is a risk itself. So I would like to go deeper into all these major consequences and the effects it might produce on us. First of all, the main focus of this debate is a proposition whether we should invest in our technologies and explore space. Furthermore, human civilization takes great importance on this matter, and we should also take that in further consideration. For example, if we assume we can achieve this, then we are also neglecting the major problems this could provoke in population. As some other consequences, we can mention some examples quoted by NASA, such as the transition between different gravities, which could affect spatial orientation, coordination, and even motor skills. Adding on these major impacts, we can mention the greater susceptibility to disease, meaning that contagion would be easier, and also, but not least, the characteristics of a habitable place. As a continuation of my partner's argument dealing with consequences, we also have to put in consideration the following. Would this inequality grow even bigger in the future? The present situation with the three global powers, such as the United States, Russia, and China, in this space race compared to the example of Nigeria, a country located in the western coast of Africa, which, despite being below in terms of capital economics in the world, is still above the average for its region. This case makes it clear that inequalities have not ended and continue accumulating over time. So how can we expect this to be fixed in the future? On what grounds? Governments will increasingly need to compete for talent with private sector entities offering more lucrative employment packages. Defense agencies will need to continue to expend resources to defend against more sophisticated space-based weaponry and tools. Going to outer space could cause even more social and economic problems. Plus, it's even more expensive, and we are unlikely to get the funds back directly. This idea of going to space certainly sounds interesting, but if we took the same amount of effort and we actually work on healing our planet and making it more livable, it will probably provide us advances in lots of ways. It is true that NASA has put a variety of technologies up through 2016, but we don't have the capabilities of even manufacturing those technologies yet. Our diversity programs are just getting started, and we lack sufficient knowledge. Preserving the race may be a fundamental fact in the future, but we have yet to identify a habitable place that is within reasonable range from the Earth. Our needs are more fundamental. We need to focus on here and now, because that's where our current problem resides. Another potential issue is that colonization could lead to a space-based arms race. If individual nations or companies establish colonies, this could lead to conflict or even wars in space, as different groups try to stake claims. Adding on, I would like to make a special mention of the treaty made in 1967, popularly known as the Outer Space Treaty, signed by major world powers such as the United States, Russia, and China. This states the following: outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, is not subject to national appropriation by claim of sovereignty, by means of use or occupation. So, with this being said, there's evidence that affirms that no one can colonize the outside, not even the world's biggest powers. Though the question is, how can we trust that this might not break in the future? And in this space program, as you say, generated internal conflicts or even a war. So, with this being said, what do you think of this? Potential consequences are at its highest level, and the harshness of space is that to successfully colonize our planets, we must adapt ourselves. There is a certain appeal and perhaps a biological necessity to adapt in our bodies with technology so that we can survive in the extreme conditions of outer space too. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Gabriela. Okay, we need to prepare for the last crossfire and the closing of this. Sorry, so sorry. It's Mariana's turn, sorry, Mariana, to say your summary of the position of your group, of the team. And then we are going to have the last minute to prepare the last crossfire. Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Mariana. Well, first of all, I would like to make clear that this whole debate is based on maybe. Maybe there will be a war in space. Maybe some countries will take advantage of the position of another country. Maybe. But what we all know, and what is completely sure, is that the damage on the planet Earth is irreversible. Climate change is making life impossible for many territories in the planet. Just for example, the Marshall Islands and Kiribati have been severely affected by the progressively rise of the ocean. Space technology will be crucial for the future of humanity. The resources are running out, whether we like it or not. The human population is increasing in a massive way. We are now almost 8 billion people on Earth. Natural resources are rapidly reducing by consumerism and the high demand of contaminating items. We need to remember that we cannot compare the colonization of America with the colonization of another planet. Well, first of all, humanity is completely different as it was thousands of years ago. And second of all, the colonization of America is looked as in a bad way because of all the torture that happened in the time. However, neither Mars nor the Moon have any form of intelligent life, nor animal life. So how are we going to compare those two events with one that hasn't even happened when they are so different in terms of context and people? Well, to conclude this debate, we, the positive team, acknowledge that investing in space has many downsides. It's expensive, it is difficult to achieve, and a really long process. However, it is needed. If we, as humanity, looked after the Earth and cleaned it constantly, we would not have to worry about it dying and us moving to another planet. If consumerism was limited and not massively practiced, if we didn't kill many animal species just to eat them, if we stopped buying things from heavy contaminating companies, we would not have to have this debate. But that is not happening. Space travel is the only alternative we have if we want to save humanity as a species. Cleaning the Earth will be an amazing option if everyone cooperated. But we all know that it's basically impossible. Our time is running out and climate change is getting closer to becoming an irreversible problem in our world. We, as the positive team, have not stopped caring about the Earth, but we are realistic. Our dear home is no longer going to exist as we know it. And if we want to at least save humanity and other Earth species, we need to move to other planets. Not to contaminate them too, but to start over. We are all standing here, probably cold or tired, not noticing how things around us are changing, not acknowledging it. However, if we don't see icebergs melting, does that mean it isn't happening? If we don't feel the heat in the warmest areas of the planet, making life miserable for many, does that mean the Earth is healing? We need to get out of our bubble. We need something to save us all.
30 seconds.
Is education and health important? Yes, of course. Is the existence of humanity important? Also yes. Not because we invest in space travel means that we think that other society needs are not worthy of our money. How are we going to answer any of those needs without any ground to hold us? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariana. Well, this is the moment when we stop for 2 minutes for the last crossfire, general crossfire, and the final arguments of each group. So I'll give you 2 minutes, okay? Okay, thank you. Please sit down. Sit down. Well, this is the last 3 minutes, 4 minutes we have. Okay, so I want to know who is going to talk for each team. Okay, Mariana, can you start?
Okay. Well, the first question we like to ask is, well, first of all, you mentioned the percentage given by the US government to the space program many times. And I would like to answer you, would you like to reduce that percentage? Because after another thing you said, even if we don't invest in space colonization, space travel will continue to happen, and the space technology will continue to be used. So if we reduce that percentage, do we also stop getting the information from all the satellites that are giving crucial information about the Earth changes?
Okay, who's going to answer?
Me.
Okay.
Well, you're talking about how much the United States spent. Well, I'm going to answer to you that, first of all, about 72 countries have a space program. Just 72 of all the world are able to financiate space programs. So, as I say, the United States have a great amount of resource. So he can invest, he can. But what about the other countries? What about them? Will they have the opportunity? Obviously not. If they have the opportunity, they will have space programs.
I think you misunderstood my question. My question is only about the US government. And the question is, should they reduce the percentage of money they are giving to their space program? Should they?
If they have the capacity of do this investment in space travel, well, it is their country, they can do it. But I think, in our opinion, they have to prioritize the themes and the lacks that their country has, like education, the people that are starving, the people that are dying. They are involucrated in many lacks of humanity things. So maybe I think that they don't have to reduce this percent of investment, but I think that they have to prioritize their lacks.
Because we really could risk this high amount of money in this maybe plan B when there are people that are starving, dying, and with no education. Without a present, it's not going to exist a future. What will you do without a present? Science. One idea we have is that we have to, like my teammate Consuelo said, we have to prioritize our amount of money in bigger problems that are happening now in this planet. And secondly, for example, this type of problem, the contamination, is that we have to focus on that, because without a present, we are in this moment, a lot of people is dying for weather changes, a lot of hot atmosphere, and if we don't focus on this present, there's no going to exist any future then. And you said that we have to this is a solution on long term, isn't it?
What is your answer to that, please? And then we finish.
I mean, the answer will be yes, I did say that.
Yeah, but we need a solution now. And perhaps the question is maybe not about colonizing or not. It's how we should do it. Because due to the risk that I mentioned earlier, we could be generating more of a problem than solving it.
What is your position?
Our solution to that is we must have a plan B, and the plan B is not as expensive as you might think. We are saying it from a point of view of the United States of America, but why we should spend $32 billion on space colonization when the USA spent $801 billion shouldn't be more effective if the USA spent less money on their military budget than that it could create a great more quantity of money instead of just reducing a plan B.
Okay.
So we are...
Okay. Well, as you can see, topic continues and goes on, and you have your own ideas also. Okay, so we appreciate this. We're going to listen to the judges there, their opinion in general, and if they have an answer to all this, if we have a sort of winner or whose arguments were, I would say, stronger. Any one of you that can talk to us, please? You are not ready. The judges are not ready. They are discussing about that because, well, your arguments were very strong. Both teams did well. So it's hard to find a real answer at the very end. So there you have the microphone. Okay. Who's going to talk? Miss Yvette. Yes. Okay. Let's listen to your voice then. Thank you.
Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations, everyone. I'm glad and I'm impressed by the work you did today. I think that both groups were well prepared, and I can notice that because in general you didn't make any pronunciation or grammar mistakes, which is the area that I was in charge of. So that was a very good work in that sense. We think that you put a lot of effort into this debate, and the level of arguments and the research accounts for it. Okay, so we think, as the judges, this is a general view. We think that you girls were the strongest group. Okay. Based on arguments, okay, the answers that you provided, and you were very convinced about the arguments. You presented them in a good way, right? So that's what we can say. We think that it was a great activity, and we are amazed by the level of English that you have reached. So
thank you very much to you for the participation and the assessment. And of course, this is our first debate. I hope we meet next year in a second one, or maybe this year. Okay, thank you everyone there, online audience also. Thank you very much for joining us this time. Thank you. Goodbye.